business online takes effort, and when it's ready for the world to see, that's where Google Ads helps.
Painting and this after work stream in the quarantine. Oh, I think this might be something. Oh, yeah. COVID confessionals, quarantine streams, lockdown diaries, quarantine streams, COVID confessionals, quarantine streams, lockdown diaries, quarantine streams, COVID confessionals, quarantine streams, lockdown diaries, quarantine streams, COVID confessionals, quarantine streams, lockdown diaries, oh. Lockdown diaries, yeah. Quarantine streams, COVID confessionals, quarantine streams, lockdown diaries, quarantine streams, COVID confessionals, quarantine streams, lockdown diaries, yeah. Oh. Cause I'm stuck in the crib, touching my wrist, you know what it is. Gotta fuck and I gotta jizz and I got a bitch and I got a whiz and motherfucker just do the business, cause I handle that, cause I'm really black, and I walk down there, give me that. I like this shit though. Quarantine streams, COVID confessionals, lockdown diaries. Cause motherfuckers be trying me and these bitch ass niggas be eyeing me. But I ain't dying B, I shoot back. Matter of fact, I shoot first. Matter of fact, I shoot worse. Cause that shit bursts and it's real big and it's gonna hurt. Your ass gonna squirt blood all over that fucking earth. I mean, all over that fucking dirt. For what it's worth, I ain't no bitch and I ain't no snitch. And I rap that shit, and now I gotta stay in the crib, mask my face, so you know what it is. COVID confession dose. Now everybody stay masked up. Quarantine streams, lockdown diaries, COVID confessionals. Yeah. Cause I'm pumped with the blessing. If you wanna put it to the test, all my skills are let it rest. Motherfuckers cannot stress, cause I ain't playing none of these games. I ain't saying no fucking names, cause all you bitch niggas just lame. I ain't playing these fucking games, man. This shit won't ever change, and I can't complain, cause I know that I got more common sense up in this plane. Motherfuckers can't say shit. Y'all bitch niggas complain like you just a poor boy and I'm up boys like Alright, we about to take some corner freestyles from the Golden Child and quarantine streams, lockdown diaries, That was a nice beat. Lockdown diaries.
Now let me tell you about Hunt. Anytime you check out on your computer, it will search the entire internet, and if it finds a coupon code, it will apply it. Here's how Honey works.
I don't like your Honey. I guess the comments froze up already. Oh well. We tried. I'm liking this right here, yo. That bullshit, yo. Yeah, I've been hearing all this shit about
all this shit about The Last of Us 2, yo. I was just about to pre-order that shit. Now I'm all like kind of iffy, man. My homeboy dropped some shit on me like 2 weeks ago or some shit, man. We playing a game. In between games, we just sitting in the chat room, just busting it up or whatever. This motherfucker started saying, I forgot how we started talking about other games, but whatever. It's like, yo, I can't wait for that Last of Us pre-order to come up. He's like, oh man, I heard some shit, man. I don't think I'm gonna get that shit. And I was like, what? What you heard? It's like, oh, I don't want to spoil it for you.
Got an ace up our
sleeve. Man, I almost forgot about that shit. And then
start getting tired of The Last of Us 2.
And then I don't know why that shit came. Oh, I know why it came back. I saw the pre-order on PlayStation Store. Last of Us 2 pre-order now. I was like, oh, wait a minute. My man said he heard something about this shit. What the fuck did he hear about this shit? Last of Us 2 leaks or whatever. Then I'm texting this dude like, bro, what did you mean you're not getting Last of Us? What did you hear about that shit? And so I watched Angry Joe. Oh my god, Angry Joe gave like this terrible review of like the info that apparently somebody, a developer or somebody within the company in the actual studio, separated from the company and then being disgruntled or whatever. We don't really know. Motherfucker just leaked the shit. Somebody who used to work there leaked some game footage and basically the story plot to the game or whatever. And it just set the fucking gaming community on edge. And I was so late hearing about this shit, and then I still almost pre-ordered it. I need to hear some more, man. Like what? And now this right here is from a gaming guy called Upper Echelon Games, and the title of this YouTube clip is Last of Us 2 could damage gaming for years. Why? What did they do so terrible with this fucking game? Because I was so excited for this shit, yo. Like ever since the first Last of Us, like it's just been my anticipation for this. The sequel to it is like, yo, how they ended it, they can make a part two to that game. And now it's like, fuck, man. Yo, Partisan, appreciate it, bro. Yeah, exactly, Bacon Bits, I know. Like, I don't fucking get it. So we're going to listen to Upper Echelon Gaming and see why they believe The Last of Us 2 could damage gaming for years. I'm really iffy about buying this fucking game now. It's just like, what did they do to this shit? And so this year right here, I've only had anticipation for 2 games. The Last of Us Part 2, which came out the same year Grand Theft Auto 5 came out. So that's what, 5 years ago now? They've been working and developing the sequel for the bulk of the last 5 years. And now it's at that point where it's ready and it's like, fuck. And I've been waiting for Cyberpunk 2077. Looks really interesting. Has a cameo from Keanu Reeves in there, which hopefully will be better than Norman Reedus in Hideo Kojima's Death Stranding. That game, I didn't even play it, and it fucking sucked so bad just watching other people play it. And everybody's like, I watched tons of hours of people streaming this shit, and they're always like, oh, you gotta get to the good part. Bro, I've seen almost all parts of this game. The story is so fucking nuanced and overlapping. It's hard to fucking keep up with what's going on. You don't understand like where these beings are coming from, and everybody just called it a walking simulator where you gotta be careful not to drop your packages. And it's like, I don't know. I was so hyped for that shit, but then I kind of just, stayed calm, wait till it came out and watch other people play it instead of pre-ordering it and having it day one. I was like, I love Hideo Kojima. I love the Metal Gear Solid series. Had every installment of Metal Gear Solid since the PS1. There are some older Metal Gear games that were put on the Nintendo, if I'm not mistaken. I really didn't pick up on those. Those were like the Contra days, and they were already making Metal Gear games back then. But the first Metal Gear Solid game that I played was on the PS1, and that game literally like changed gaming for me. That shit was so fucking amazing. It was so amazing. It was unreal at that time, yo. And there was one part in the game where it forced you to do something physically in the real world in order to accomplish a task within the VR world. Never seen anything like that. I was fucking mind blown. I'm like, yo, who is the fucking genius who thought of this? And after that, I just bought every installment of Metal Gear Solid. I even tried to play. Hideo did another like Space Pirates type game. I forgot the name of that shit, but I really didn't get into that one. And I almost got this one, but I was like, nah, yeah. So I hope they don't do 2077 like that with Keanu Reeves, where it's like one of the coolest dudes on fucking Earth, and just give him a good part in the game and make this shit exciting and playable. Don't fuck it up like you did the Norman Reedus game. They should have just did the Silent Hill remake with Norman Reedus in there instead of doing that fucking Hideo Kojima shit. I don't know. I feel so bad about that. You still want to play Death Stranding, yo? I don't know, man. I don't know. Oh, but that Metal Gear Solid where you was fighting Psycho Mantis, and you couldn't beat the motherfucker. He's a psychic. He knows your every fucking move, everything you're gonna do. He's mocking you. He's like, ha ha ha! I know your moves before you make them. And then the screen kept flashing black, and then up in the corner was this little it just said Hideo. And I was like, what the fuck is going on, man? Why can't I beat this dude? Tried that shit for like an hour, yo. And back then there wasn't no YouTube and Google, so you can quit cheating all that shit. And I don't know what made me do that shit, yo. But what you had to do was, the first PlayStation, the controllers were wired. And you had to fucking physically take the controller from the first player port, unplug that shit, and plug it in the second player. And once you plug that shit into the second player port, Psycho Mantis in the video game's like, you start fucking him up, right? You hitting him and shit. He's like, what? What's going on? How are you doing this? I can't read your mind. And I'm like, yeah, bitch. Because I'm playing as the second player. Yo, that shit, to this day, like, that shit still fucking amazes me, yo. That shit is so fucking amazing. And then you beat him, you take this shit out, the second player, put it back in the first controller port, and then go on with the rest of the game, yo. But for them to think of that shit, you're like, we need these motherfuckers to do something in their own house in real life. Make them unplug the controller. That shit was, and it was genius. Yo, the memory cards, oh man. But that was the shit. I had one of my favorite consoles is still the Sega Dreamcast, yo. and they had the fucking memory card in the controller, yo. And Xbox basically stole that fucking design from that controller, yo. But the Dreamcast was, it was so far advanced for its time. That's why it failed. It was the first console that had online connectivity, accessibility to that shit, yo. The first console you can put online and play people online. Most motherfuckers don't even know that shit. I ain't even had fucking internet then, bro. Like, not at home. I ain't had no home internet. But I had a Dreamcast, yo, and if I had internet, you could play certain games online. It was the first console you could do that shit with. It had the memory card in the fucking controller. You could take that shit out and do other little functions on the memory card, and the memory card was like a little teeny Game Boy. Yo, that shit was crazy, yo. I missed that Dreamcast, yo. That was the last time I played a sports game, yo. I had the NFL 2K1, or was it 2K? Whichever the last one was, I think it was NFL 2K1, because it might have been 2K. Cause one of them years after that, yo, like Madden bought out the fucking NFL franchise rights, and that's why there are no other NFL football video games. It's only Madden. Y'all ever notice that? Back in the day, there was tons of people making football games with NFL teams on it. Now can't nobody do that shit but Madden, yo. Well, I don't know if Madden still has the rights to it or how long they brought the NFL franchise rights, but because I don't play sports games like that no more. But I know, like, after they did that shit, like, and that's when, because the 2K series to me was better than the fucking Madden. Even back then, yo, that shit was hot, yo. Like, to me, way better than Madden. And then I was like, yo, no more fucking football games from 2K? What the fuck? But Smoke. Yo, Smoke, we playing some Call of Duty after this, bro? Huh? Cause if not, I'm just running some fucking solos, bro. Run some solos, cause I can buy myself back. I be hating jumping in there with too many fucking randoms. Nobody got their mics on. Nobody's communicating. Nobody don't want to buy people back from the gulag and shit. I look like I haven't taken my protein shake in fucking since this whole quarantine shit, like 2-3 months now. I just like haven't really been. I work out still, but not as intense as I was, and actually lost like 3 pounds. That's all. That's all the weight I lost, and I think that's mostly like. I don't think I lost muscle mass. I just lost a little bit of fat or water weight, really. But my weight is still the same. I stay at like anywhere between like in the mid 160s. I weighed myself the other day. I was like 163. At the last time I weighed myself before that, I was like 165 or 166 or something like that. So that's normally right where I'm at, like in the mid 160, 165. Like my weight didn't really change. Yeah, I still try to work out though. Like I said, I did a little some quick shoulder workouts this morning. Put them on had them on Facebook. I did a Facebook Live this morning. Oh, your boy still work out, man. I got them 60 pounds right there. Got 45 pounds. The first weights was 45 pounds. Them weights right there are 60 pounds. And then I got some little 10-pound weights. I need to get some 20 or 25 pound weights and some 30 pound or 35 pound weights. But that shit don't stop. Better take care of your body. Yeah, 25-pound dumbbells, you can do a lot of stuff with those, man. Those are easier for like skull crunches to help with your triceps. You can do I'd rather do warm-ups with 25 pounds for curls and stuff like that. They're good for if you're doing some lunges. I'm doing lunges with those. The 45 pounds are like, well, the 10 pounds are the smallest weights I have, and then the next ones are 45 pounds. Yo, doing lunges with those shits heavy as fuck, yo. That's fucking 90 pounds. You know what I'm saying? Like, damn. But damn, if you had 25 pounds, you'll only be doing, having an extra 50 pounds of weight while you're doing lunges. See, I do lunges. I do sets of 10 with lunges and then do squats. And then since I have a fucking 3-story house, I just walk to the basement, then walk all the way up here to the 3rd floor, walk back down to the basement, shit like 2 times in a row after a set of lunges. Yo, my legs killing, yo. Just gotta be creative. And then the 60-pound dumbbells, so that's 120. I do a lot of shit with those, like shoulder shrugs. I do a kind of a shoulder press or bench press with them. And I do lateral raises. So whatever's clever. Thinking about adding some more pieces. I don't know. I might go back to the gym as soon as that shit open up. I ain't gonna lie. I miss the gym though. I really do miss the gym. Alright. Let's get these brushes wet because I'm actually excited to play the game. I'm not gonna lie.
Leaks and controversy. I get that, and I feel I'm about to be in the same boat, honestly. However, before attempting to conclude my coverage on this, till the inevitable hurricane of launch day videos, I say attempting because one can truly never know what tomorrow holds. I mean, 2020 has had a viral pandemic, lockdowns, quarantines, UFO declassifications, Elon Musk is now selling all his earthly possessions, and the American presidential race is just unbelievable, truly. I can't tell what the hell is around the next corner. But anyways, before attempting to conclude my coverage of these leaks, I want to discuss a hypothetical that I have not seen anyone else focus on, because if true, it would push the game beyond what it is perceived as now, which is speculatively a bad narrative with insufficient characters and a forced pandering agenda, over to something quite literally damaging to the future of video game development, and especially certain political ideologies. This is where we need absolute clarity, and where I will also attempt as much nuance as possible. There are two hypotheticals in play here, and neither one is assured at this point.
Somebody said that, I think when I was listening to Angry Joe, they said that there's a transgender person in the game. Hey, have nothing against transgender people, man, at all. But it's like, damn, is this an agenda? You gotta make sure you have that shit everywhere. You gotta have homosexuals and transgenders and everybody as a part of everything, which is weird because I'm trying to think as hard as I can, and it's like, have I ever played a video game with a transgender person? I don't think so. But Grand Theft Auto stepped out there with the Ballad of Gay Tony, and that was pretty funny. About the gay nightclub owner. I get it. But it's like, I don't know. I don't know if that's even relevant or not, but it's just weird. Like, once again, in my entire gaming life, like, I've never seen that before. But times are changing, so you gotta add them. You can't leave them out. Can't leave them out. Socks and ties. Nah, still haven't really developed anything on that yet. I'm trying to do something else, honestly. Me and a friend, we might try to make like some of these brush holders and see if we can market these. I be wanting to do like clothes, and I mean, but it's like everybody does that though. I want to do something. I want to make a good, cheap, efficient, usable product, but something that everybody isn't doing.
In time. Hypothetical one, and the option I will staunchly defend as more desirable, is that the leaks do not represent the final product accurately. It seems fairly certain that they represent key plot points in an accurate way, but what we are lacking is further context. There are a number of different things to consider with this option. For starters, due to the now colossal backlash that has exploded onto the internet, will Sony force top-down edits and delay the game? It's not unheard of, it is entirely plausible, but regrettably I feel it may be unlikely. Alternatively, we could be looking at a vertical slice of the narrative that deliberately excludes extremely powerful and emotional payoffs. There could very well be expertly crafted character development in there. I find it unlikely, I doubt it's there, and I hate to say that, but the potential does exist. There are a myriad of reasons why what has been exposed by these leaks might not be indicative of the fully rounded experience. Again, I doubt this option is true. I am fearful that there is no saving grace lurking behind the next bend, and that we will be getting a narrative fleshed out around the leaked skeletal plot points that does nothing to diffuse the anger and animosity. But ultimately, we cannot be certain. As much as people may claim in their anger, the whole game leaked, we know it's awful, we know it's going to be terrible from start to finish, that is hyperbolic, based on very real frustration and fear, but extremely inaccurate. We do not know hardly anything.
Most people don't use that word.
With an abundance of compelling evidence, it's hard not to make assumptions, and feel that those assumptions are, most likely, fairly on point.
Basically,
that's just the first hypothetical, the one that we should all want to be true, but that we must equally recognize is probably not true. The second hypothetical is what I will focus on for today. Keep in mind that from here on out, I am discussing a totally unknown scenario, and making assumptions based on what the leaks contain. This could be wrong, things could change, new info could be revealed that invalidates these assumptions. But if all holds true, I believe that The Last of Us 2 might become a legitimately damaging force in the video game industry, which sets back the very same political agendas it seeks to push, through some of the most horrifically executed choices in all of gaming history. Now is when I will actually discuss the leaked content with relative detail. It's entirely possible that Sony or some demented corporate proxy strikes down my videos as a result of that. I will fight this tooth and nail. I will bring it to official litigation without hesitation. If you want to go that route, Sony, Naughty Dog, whoever it may be, fine. I will also attempt to organize with other YouTubers for a class action lawsuit, perhaps, should my content be struck in a damaging way. I just wanted to make that clear up front in case someone actually watches the videos before shutting them down. Weigh those odds carefully, because I will deliberately make a mountain out of a molehill to prove a point against corporate DMCA abuse here. That said, once again, I'm about to summarize plot details from the leaks that will absolutely be considered spoilers. If you do not want to hear them, please click away. You have been warned. For those of you still here,
fuck, I don't want to hear it, but...
The anger I have seen revolves around 3 characters.
Wait. Oh my god. Do I really want to hear this? Like, I listened to Angry Joe, and they said, like, a little bit of shit, but even they were kind of holding back. This dude says he's about to give a basic summary of all the leaked plots. Like, fuck. Metroid, the whole time you thought you're playing a dude, and then it turns out it's a girl. But I thought that was cool because it's not really. I don't know. Metroid was different. It was just a girl. Once you figured it out, like, oh, that's not even a guy. No. This guy who I'm listening to now, no, this dude is not a fucking troll, bro. Yo, this shit is everywhere. Like, this is almost common knowledge now. Like I say, my homie said something to me almost 2 weeks ago, and I think it was out. The information was out like a week before he told me that shit. So, like, and like he said, yo, I'm gonna, if you strike my video, because Naughty Dog was took copyright infringement action on some people who were, like, there was actually extra footage and everything this dude put out on the internet, yo. And people were sharing it, and it was getting taken down. And this streamer right here, he's like, yo, Sony, Naughty Dog, whoever, yo, if you take this video I'm about to make, if you take it down, I'm gonna fucking sue you. And I'm gonna start a class action lawsuit. And it's gonna go down. This dude isn't fucking trolling. He's just upset about the information in the fucking leaked. Fuck. I'm not gonna listen to this shit, guys. I'm sorry. I don't even want to do it to myself. Fuck. What did they do to the game? Why are you so stupid? Oh, well, hey, Fox, that's what somebody said. Somebody else made that hypothesis, is that, like, this dude, there was something that really did happen, and people can trace him, and he knows for a fact that he did work on this project. Knows for a fact he worked on the project. So maybe he did just throw some shit out there like, this is what it is, ba-da-da-da-da, just to troll all of us and get us all mad and not wanting to buy the game. And so that the game turned into like this flop or something. Which is sounds totally legitimate as well, you know, because if Naughty Dog can get this dude, they can sue the shit out of him for a non-disclosure agreement, an NDA. I know everybody has to sign an NDA working for companies like that. You can't disclose information like that. You're gonna get fucking a major ass fucking lawsuit. So I don't know, if you're leaking like fake ass shit to troll us, I mean, I don't think Naughty Dog would be as mad as they are. But they're making this shit seem like, oh, this is the worst thing that happened. And this game was already pushed back prior to the quarantine because it was supposed to come out in February. And that's what kind of pissed me off. They were saying that in November of last year. The Last of Us. February the whatever, 18th or something, I think it was supposed to come out. And they said, nope, we're going to push it back till May. And then, even in April, I heard rumors like, oh, they might push it back past May because of the quarantine shit. Where, I mean, a bulk of gaming sales are online now, but some people still get hard copies. I've even started, downloading my games now. Fuck it. I love hard copies just for the fact that if you don't want to play them anymore, you can trade them in. They're only gonna give you $12 for it, but it's $12, my dude. Like a digital copy, it's yours forever. You can never share it with anybody. You can't sell it to a third party. You can't sell it back to the store. And you're just stuck with a digital copy if you never ever play that shit again, That was one of the perks, because I'm a gamer. Like I said, I used to buy so many fucking games. I'll pre-order everything. I'm getting that, I'm buying that, I'm buying this, I'm buying that. Have 20 fucking games. I only played half of them. Then I want a new game. Then shit, I'll take 7 or 8 games, go trade them bitches in, and then I get a new game. And do that a couple times. That's how I played so many fucking games, being able to trade some of them shits in, and then you can buy used games for cheaper than a brand new game. I ain't mind buying a used copy of a game. Fuck that. Brand new copy, $60. The used copy, $36 or $40. Let me get that used copy, yo. Because it ain't in the package no more. I'm good. I don't need the package. Save me time opening this bitch. I can pop that motherfucker right in. So, but The Last of Us, though, damn, man, y'all broke the game? And the game's so broken, it's gonna break the gaming industry? Wait a minute, man. Wait, what kind of shit is this? What the fuck is going on here, man? I ain't gonna listen to that fucking... I don't want to listen to that shit, though.
Subsequent treatment. Abby, Ellie, and Joel. Abby is a seemingly transgendered antagonist-protagonist hybrid who is the child of a surgeon/doctor that Joel killed in the original game while rescuing Ellie. Ellie and Joel, they really don't need explanations, but for those who might not know, they are the characters from the first entry who were built upon over the span of many, many consecutive hours to a point of emblematic emotional investment in the entire industry. The basic plot appears to revolve around the concept of revenge. Abby is on a path of vengeance after her father was killed by Joel. This leads her to a pivotal scene where she does kill Joel with a golf club, while Ellie is forced to watch. That is the first major point of anger towards the narrative from what I have seen, and with good reason. After this, there is presumably a lengthy and not as of yet fully revealed story arc that fleshes out both Ellie and Abby, as well as their companions. This brings us to the second major point of anger, which is that about half of the game is played as Abby, the antagonist who killed Joel, and is projected to be an attempt at building her from a hated and abhorrent villain, somehow, to a character we actually care about in some way. I don't know how that would even be possible, but seemingly that is the goal. After this nebulous character building takes place, however that occurs, there is evidence of a fight between Abby and Ellie, while you, the player, control Abby and hunt down Ellie in a way very reminiscent of a particular fight from the first game. This appears to be the third section that has fans truly on edge. And then finally, you as Abby beat Ellie to within an inch of her life, and it has been massively speculated that you kill Ellie while playing as Abby, leading to a final realization that vengeance solves nothing. As Abby, and presumably you as the player, realize that the cycle will now continue, nothing was truly accomplished. That is effectively a summary of the most meaningful segments. There is more, such as the wonderful, and I truly mean wonderful, early cutscenes where Joel and Ellie are bonding in exactly the same way that we as fans have come to know and love, which means it's obviously possible for them to do here, they just chose not to for the majority of it. But the crucial and most infuriating portions that have set the fandom ablaze revolve around Abby killing Joel, you playing as Abby for half the game, hunting down and fighting Ellie while possibly killing her in the end. That's the spoilers, and that's as much as I will discuss in terms of leaked details, but hopefully it communicates where the anger has been coming from. Now, before continuing, I want to take a sort of intermission here because the topic is heavy under the best of circumstances, and tell you why I care so much about this franchise. About 2 years ago, give or take, that's a very general estimate right now, I was a streamer on Twitch. I went through various ups and downs, but during what I would probably call my peak enjoyment on the platform, the entire time, I played for the very first time The Last of Us with a large group of dedicated viewers who also appreciated the game and came with me for the ride. This was a phenomenal experience. Something clicked for me while slowly progressing through the game, witnessing the still burning enthusiasm that so many of the viewers in chat had, and to go even further, these were some of the best broadcasts I have ever had in my life in terms of many other factors. There were no trolls, no frustrations, no concerns. I enjoyed the game, the discussion, the slowly building atmosphere, and it felt like nothing at all, not a single thing, got in the way of that enjoyment. Streaming is kind of a highlight in my life that I would not trade for anything, and The Last of Us was a highlight of that streaming. So as a result, I have genuine feelings about this franchise. With that in mind, I desperately want this game to succeed and be everything that I hoped for it, but I will try to avoid my judgment becoming so clouded that I cannot see the iceberg off the bow. Assuming these leaks are accurate and assuming there is no more context to provide, though after careful consideration for the past couple of days, I have one speculative prediction I would like to add to the video that I will get to later on, which I can picture as a fitting and possibly redeeming narrative choice that might still be possible, but that's for later. Assuming there is no more context to give, and that what we see is the entirety of their pivotal plot decisions, plus the predictions on Reddit, 4chan, and Reset Era are correct on top of that, The Last of Us 2 will go down in history as one of the most brutally damaging games to ever release, and will be cited for decades as the reason behind future struggles for social justice credibility in the video game industry. That's a massive claim, so let me explain. We have been told now by the very same crowd pushing the perceived agenda in this particular game that tropes and stereotypes in video games and other pop culture have influential power. Whether or not you agree with this, it is integral to their entire premise of inflicting change upon the industry, because the effects of having certain characters in certain games with certain belief sets or identities, in their mind, it translates to real-world behavior. But this is a flawed foundation, and if believed, it turns The Last of Us 2 from a game that merely fails to appeal to its once supportive player base to a title that actively sabotages the apparent goal it had in the first place, which was to expand the acceptance of diverging sexualities, ethnicities, and character backgrounds in video games away from a somehow villainized white male majority. The first step here is to understand that character identity does not dictate viewer or player response in any meaningful way unless it is done poorly. Take comic books, for example. Previous comic book iterations that showed hyper-idealized characters did not spur their viewers to actively hate things that were not similar. The whole point of creating caricature perfection was to appeal to more people, not cause them to despise what is not even shown. When you read old Wonder Woman comics, for example, the response is, wow, she is amazing, not, wow, she's amazing, so therefore I hate all fat women. The only character or identity that viewers will develop impressions of is the identity of the character shown. Let's expand on this. The New Warriors have garnered nothing but ridicule from both the demographic that they represent and the demographics that they don't, because the characters themselves are bad. What would you rather see, this or this? One with her magic backpack, and the other with super strength, flight, and compelled truth, who blocks bullets with her wristbands and commands the respect of even Batman and Superman. You really think Snack Pack Dora is commanding Batman's respect? Really? You don't look at Snack Pack Dora and think, wow, I now hate all skinny white women. You see Snack Pack Dora and analyze what she is, not everything she isn't. Looking at her, you see a terrible superpower, a bad backstory, a lack of any meaningful ability to actually do anything impactful in a world dominated by supervillains and demons. She is effectively useless, and you judge her for it. That judgment is not redirected miraculously to some entirely separate character or identity that is not even in the comic. It is judgment aimed solely at her. So how does this relate to The Last of Us 2? Simple. Abby, the transgendered antagonist, protagonist, whatever she is, who abusively murders a character we as the viewer have loved for many years, is going to be the sole target of that rage and frustration. She might even murder Ellie for all we know, and describing the battle they have is troublesome because it truly feels like some sort of Spec Ops guerrilla is just beating up on a young girl, and you are controlling it during that process. It's disgusting. Now, pause, and I know I'm going off on a lot of tangents right now, but I promise it will all tie back in together in the end. Artistic creations do not necessitate positive emotional reactions. If we accept video games as artwork, and they are artwork, indisputably, we must also recognize that they do not need to make us feel good by default. An example I've used in the past, and one that I find to be fitting again here, is the sculpture memorial at Dachau. Dachau is a labor camp from World War II, and it has memorialized the fallen with a twisted metal sculpture meant to depict bodies. It is not pleasant to look at, and when I was there, understanding the tragedy that took place beneath my very feet, and seeing this jagged sculpture of warped black metal, it did not make me feel good. However, that discomfort was intentional. It was designed to do this. It was crafted with precision to elicit that response and emulate the atmosphere of tragedy that it depicted. It was, without overcomplicating things right now, artistic, but not pleasant. The same could be true here with The Last of Us 2. The game could be designed to make us uncomfortable, to make us hate the concept of revenge because that concept led to the demise of characters that we love. And that ultimate goal could be respected if and only if it is executed properly. Here is the prediction I mentioned before, though to be honest it is less of a prediction and more of a desperate hope given how unlikely it is, but how well it might interact with the plot leaks that we have seen thus far. Abby, from what we have seen, is a disgusting character. Even the material seemingly crafted to give her well-rounded emotional appeal is obnoxious and irritating. She is the best at archery, she is the best at fighting, she is queen progressive, bow down to her, for all intent and purposes. However, picture this. Abby brutally murders Joel in her pursuit of vengeance. Eventually, she nearly murders or does murder Ellie, but imagine if this is not the climax. Imagine if Dina, Ellie's lesbian partner, who is pregnant with a child that they hope to raise together at the time, gets spared by Abby, as does Ellie, but she loses the baby. You as the player are forced to play as Abby during all of this and develop even more hatred for her. Now picture Ellie succumbing to that very same feeling of vengeance, hunting down Abby and beating her to death much the same way that Abby has done to Joel. I hope everyone is able to follow where I'm going with this, because despite the ludicrously low probability here, I firmly believe this would be a fitting hypothetical plotline that can explain why I still harbor the faintest hope that they will produce something worthy. We, as the player, having been forced to play as this awful, disgusting character Abby for half the story, as she murders characters we actually do care about, find catharsis here. We have built up to this moment, and we, the player, enjoy the sequence of events leading to the death of Abby, as does Ellie, who we would be playing as at the time. But then, after all this, an entirely separate and completely innocent character emerges for that final frame or segment, whatever it is, and could be a child, an unknown lover, who knows, and we are left with a decisive insinuation that the vengeance cycle will now continue. The player would now be invested actively in this, as Ellie would have been successfully defended and the narrative built upon itself by forcing you to play as Abby to a point where we on the other side of the screen also feel like a part of that revenge cycle. Because now Ellie, who we worked hard to protect, is at risk once again as the cycle of revenge rages on. Joel kills the doctors, Abby kills Joel, Abby kills Dina's child, Ellie kills Abby, and now someone, somewhere, is coming for Ellie and Dina once again because we as the player relished the opportunity to hunt down Abby because we hate her so much because of what she's done, and continued the cycle. This is one possible way, in my opinion, to salvage the narrative that we have seen. For some, it might still be terrible and indefensible, but at the very least, it would diverge from tearing down everything that we loved from the previous titles in favor of some new, horribly unlikable and obnoxious protagonist with the goal of subverting expectations. But honestly, how likely is it that all this actually occurs, or that any series of events takes place to salvage what we have seen? Honestly, very unlikely. So with that in mind, why then would the game, if released as is, without some monumental form of greater context, fundamentally changing the overall message when compared to what we have seen already, why then would it be absolutely catastrophic to future games with a similar agenda? The reason is simple. We judge what the character is, not what the character isn't. If there is no bombshell context shakeup and Abby is truly intended to be the new protagonist, learning the lesson that vengeance leads nowhere while trashing everything the fans once loved, players will judge Abby based on her identity. Imagine in 6 months or a year when a male-to-female transgendered character pops up in a long-standing and beloved franchise. What do these people think the reaction will be? Will we have all forgotten that Abby came in and destroyed something we loved in the most antagonistic and poorly written way possible? Or will we instinctively, whether conscious or subconscious, reject that character on premise based on known experiences? How about taking it one step further? Political agenda fanatics allege that a connection exists between video game content and real-world behavior or prejudice. They have built the entire flawed argument on the fact that only depicting certain demographics and turning them into the defining characters in most franchises will create negative ramifications for those less visible. How then will it turn out when you take those less visible demographics and push them to the front while having them brutally destroy what the widespread existing fan base loves? If that connection does in fact exist, and their entire movement is predicated on it, by the way, you have just created real-world ramifications from your own decisive action by having these marginalized identities assume the most despicable position you could. You did not take and craft compelling new characters, you had disgustingly written symbolic tokens destroy what the vast majority love, which generates animosity towards future inclusion of anything even remotely similar. Basically, harboring anger towards what you perceive to be your audience's political or social beliefs and turning that animosity into the literal focal point of an artistic creation merely serves to further entrench all of your extremist enemies into the very same positions that you hate by giving them self-serving evidence that they are right for holding those beliefs in the first place. If you craft a transgendered character who is empathetic, strong, disciplined, intelligent, and relatable, the majority of your fan base will be open to loving them over time. The way that they did with Ellie and Joel. It took time. It took an entire game. If you craft a transgendered character who brutalizes the characters that they love, exemplifies negative stereotypes of anger, aggression, and even mimics current political debate about transgendered sports regulations in the worst possible way, you create a lightning rod example of why future titles who attempt any inclusion at all should be curb-stomped as hard as possible to avoid catastrophe. In effect, if The Last of Us 2 remains as is without some sort of radical context blowout or a full-on delayed rewrite, it will harm the very agendas it seeks to promote in the first place within the gaming industry for years to come, including gay characters or transgender characters or whatever else. That simple act should not be considered controversial because it isn't. But Naughty Dog, Neil Druckmann, Sony, and whoever else is responsible, they are on the precipice of making it even more controversial through sheer unmitigated animosity. That is, if this entire hypothetical is true. There it is. If the game comes out and has more to see, more to know, and there's a reason to support its vision, even if that vision is technically not something that makes me feel good, as art can often do, that's true, I will be open to that outcome. But if it does not, if what we have seen is truly what we get with minimal revelations, it will go down as one of the worst games of all time. Not necessarily from a sales perspective, it will probably still sell fine. A lot of people don't want to hear that, but it's going to sell fine regardless. But from a social feedback perspective, it might very well go down in history as an origin point for further animosity and polarization, while being used as an example of why diverse characters should not be allowed to exist. And that's a truly terrible thing to become. We'll see how it turns out. I maintain that we should keep an open mind, but that's increasingly hard to do. If you want to support Merch, Patreon, Twitter, another gaming YouTuber to check out, please subscribe and support him. If you drink coffee, check out EDC Coffee with the link down below for a discount. And if we as a community order enough, I'll be able to get us our own special blend, which is the end goal. I think I'll call it Categorically Superior Coffee Blend or something. I don't know, but that's it. As always,
Categorically
superior and have a nice night.
Coffee. Oh, well.
This video is over 2 hours long because it looks at 4 different games. I've put breaks in each section so the video can be watched in pieces. There are links in the description. Each section is about 15 minutes long. The reason I spend so much time looking at each game is because this is meant to function as both a critical analysis and a watchable plot synopsis, meaning that even if you've never played these games, I speak in depth enough about the gameplay and story that you should be able to understand everything. You should have a good grasp on what these games are all about after watching this video, which also means I'll be spoiling everything about them. The Uncharted games are a series of PlayStation exclusives that were developed by Naughty Dog. The first was Drake's Fortune that released in 2007, then Among Thieves in 2009, followed by Drake's Deception in 2011. all of them for the PlayStation 3. The fourth game in the series just came out, A Thief's End for PlayStation 4. You should also know that there was another game, Golden Abyss, that released for the PlayStation Vita. I haven't played that game, so I won't be discussing it, but I thought it was worth mentioning. I believe it's a prequel that's set before Drake's Fortune. The Last of Us was also made by Naughty Dog and came out in 2013. Although it's not part of the Uncharted series, it could be seen as something of a spiritual sequel. By that I mean both games are third-person shooters with cover mechanics that share a lot of features, but they are made drastically different from each other by some relatively small tweaks. We'll be taking a thorough look at this game at the end of this video. If the first three Uncharted games competed in an Olympic event, then Uncharted 2 and 3 would be left fighting over who gets gold and silver, while Uncharted 1 would be sulking at the bottom with a bronze medal. But there's a vast difference between these two sides. The gold and silver medals are real, while the bronze is more like a painted piece of plastic. That's how sharp the increase in quality is after the first one. I'd go as far as to say that Drake's Fortune isn't even a good game. It's comfortably mediocre, and would be outright terrible if it wasn't for the strong introduction it provides for the characters in the series. It's a surreal thing to say about a game, that parts of the story save it from being a waste of time instead of the gameplay. Now I know I can often come across as a lot more negative than I really feel about a game, especially in previous videos like Dragon's Dogma or even Bloodborne or The Witness. So I want to say right now that I think the other games in this series are good, but also that I'm not exaggerating when I say how much I dislike the first game. I played the demo of it when it first came out, and I was so unimpressed that I didn't get it. It wasn't until after Uncharted 3 came out that I went back and played it, and I'm shocked that such a weak game got a sequel. Of course I'm glad that it did because Uncharted 2 is such a big improvement, but that in itself is a big surprise. The major problems it has are mostly to do with its gameplay and length. I went through all of the 5 games shown here in the same way in order to make this video. By that I mean I didn't rush through all of the content, but I didn't inspect every corner of every area either. I went through at a comfortable pace. Uncharted 2 and 3 took me about 9 hours each to complete. The Last of Us took 14, Uncharted 4 took 15. The first game only took 6 hours, and despite this being the shortest of them all, it also has the least amount of variety in its gameplay and setting, and also recycles a lot of its content. First, however, let's look at the story. Even though it's the strongest part of the game, it has its own mess of issues. Parts of it make absolutely no sense, and there are long stretches of time that very little happens. It's still strong, however, because it's carried by its characters.
I will find her. Trust me. How much trouble could one girl be?
Well, come on!
Thank you.
We open with a profound quote and a surprisingly smooth transition from a coffin underwater to after it's being pulled onto a boat. The two characters here are the focus of the series, Nathan Drake and Elena Fisher. Drake is the descendant of the famous explorer Francis Drake, who is meant to be dead in the coffin that they just trawled up. Elena is a journalist that has funded Nathan's expedition to find the coffin so that she can record the whole thing and make a documentary out of it. These characters have only just recently met before the game started, and they're still a little awkward with each other.
You make it sound so dirty.
This awkwardness can also be felt by the player, since the dialogue in these games is saturated with attempts at sarcasm and witty lines, pretty much at every opportunity. Now, I've said in the past that I'm sort of sick and tired of that. It links back to a lot of action movies and TV shows. I'd argue that the closest thing that Uncharted gets to is Firefly, since Nathan is more Captain Reynolds than he is Indiana Jones or Han Solo. Sometimes it even sounds like voice actor Nolan North is trying to emulate Nathan Fillion in some of his lines.
Guess the time's right. What does that mean?
The hell? Okay. I'm gonna leap on the wind. What does that mean?
The writing gets better as the series goes on, and that holds true here. At the beginning, it comes across like the characters are aware that they're in a game. They talk to themselves and move and speak like they're actors rather than actual people.
Anti-aircraft fighter? This is so not cool!
This gets better as the game goes on, and I'd say by the second game the problem has vanished completely, although it's possible that it's simply the player getting used to these characters and their mannerisms. If anything, the first game serves as a great foundation for Nathan Drake and Elena Fisher to have for the rest of the series. This opening is also pretty good in establishing two other things in the games. Pirates attack and you have to fend them off with a pistol and using parts of the boat for cover, and eventually fighting them with your bare hands. But Nathan's casual reaction to it also clearly shows that this is a usual day for him. Fighting is common for this man, and either he's become desensitized to it, or the game is screaming at you that this isn't a story you're meant to take very seriously. Uncharted 2 does something similar with its opening that we'll see when we get to that game. The problem here requires only a short rewind to see. The game opens with that profound quote. Every game in the series does actually, and some of the plot points that happen later leave me wondering if Naughty Dog themselves forgot that they weren't meant to take it seriously either. However, this isn't a problem in the first game, more so the second and third. The final major character in the series shows up at the end of the scene, Victor Sullivan, who is basically an older, grumpier, and occasionally wiser version of Nathan Drake. He's acquired a no-nonsense attitude in his older age, yet he still puts up with a lot of shit from Nathan because they've known each other for so long. The trio escape on his plane and recap the story safely away from the pirates. Francis Drake's coffin was empty because he faked his death. His journal was in there instead, which is full of clues needed to find El Dorado, an ancient lost city of gold. This begins a tradition that continues in every single Uncharted game, including Uncharted 4. There's some secret place full of riches as the end goal. Some long-dead explorer almost found it and failed, but left a lot of clues and a trail to follow. Nathan Drake and friends try to find it while being hunted by another group that also want the treasure. That's the basic skeleton of a plot that's used in all 4 games. The flesh added to it is what's different each time. Sully explains that he's over his head in debt and really needs this treasure hunt to end well this time. The scene then ends with Nathan and Sully dishing Elena. They leave her at the port and she acts like there's a stage of people watching her.
Hey!
Should have seen that one coming.
The next area is with Nathan and Sully. They walk through a jungle together and speak about some of their old adventures. It's decent enough dialogue and fills in some of the silence as you proceed through the level. This place acts as a second tutorial. There's no shooting just yet, only some climbing and puzzle solving. These add with the other main chunks of content in the series that the Uncharted games cycle through. Combat, shooting or stealth. Exploring, usually climbing walls, ruins, or ledges. Puzzles, we'll get to them in just a second. Set pieces, some sort of unique, lethal situation that you need to play through. And then story, movies that run without player control. Puzzles in Uncharted 1 are no different than the rest of the gameplay on offer here. By that I mean that they're terrible. The climbing isn't much better and has you following the only real path available to you in order to pass a wall or something else. Then you'll be pushing a box or moving a ladder. These parts feel more like filler than outright bad, but then you come to these puzzles that require you to look at your journal, or Francis Drake's notebook in this case. The solutions are already given to you, you just have to follow them. Some of the later puzzles in the game require a little more thought, but they're more about trying to understand the clues in the book rather than looking at the puzzle instead. Here it's about using these shapes in the right order. That's it. That's all this puzzle is. Other puzzles aren't much better, and some of them leave you wondering why they even exist at all. We'll get to them in a little bit. This trek through the ruins ends in failure. There's no lost city of gold. In fact, it looks like someone already beat them to the treasure decades earlier. Regardless, Nathan and Sully push on and find a marooned U-boat. For some reason, Nathan thinks this might be connected to the treasure and wants to investigate. He gives Francis Drake's notebook to Sully before he leaves for absolutely no reason. It's not like he's afraid of getting it wet either, since he was already swimming earlier in this level, but it happens anyway. You do some more complicated climbing to reach the U-boat, which is expanding on some of the experience you've gained climbing through the ruins earlier. This part looks good, and the interior of the submarine is suitably wrecked. Inside, you find out that Nathan's guess was somehow correct. The Germans were also looking for the treasure, because why not? You learn that El Dorado isn't a city at all, but a giant golden statue. You find the information needed to continue the search, but Sully is attacked outside before you have a chance to use it. Nathan knocks over a torpedo on his way out, which will show how much dumb luck the guy will benefit from throughout all the games.
That's probably bad.
Sully is being held captive outside by a villain so forgettable that I had to Google his name in order to write this script. Gabriel Roman. Sully owes Roman a lot of money. He used his latest wild goose chase with Nathan in order to buy some time, but instead made Roman more interested in finding the treasure for himself. Somehow he followed the two of them to this island. He shoots Sully in the chest and kills him. The torpedo that Nathan knocked over explodes and gives him the chance to escape before he could be forced to find the treasure for Roman. You run away and meet Elena a few seconds later, who also followed you both to the island. They quickly reconcile the differences since Sully has just been killed. You fight some of Roman's goons on your way back through the ruins you cleared earlier. The combat is very simple. Hide behind cover, aim when the enemy stops shooting, pop off some headshots and continue on. The sequence ends with you leaving with Elena in her car. Then you're both in a plane flying to the next island, which honestly looks exactly like the same island you were just on a second ago, and that really confused me when I first played. Nathan doesn't seem too torn up about his old friend being dead, and is still cracking jokes and being sarcastic. This could be seen as the continuation of the facade he maintains in order to appear like nothing phases him, and I do know that it's pronounced facade, I just wanted one of you to lose your mind when I mispronounced it right there. Or it could be because Sully isn't really dead, so the writers didn't think to use any time lamenting a character when he comes back later. The plane comes under attack. Nathan and Elena bail a minute or so apart with parachutes and are separated when they land on the island. At this point, the story slows down immensely. So this is the start of the terribleness in Uncharted 1. You're stuck on this island and in this environment for the rest of the game. Very quickly you meet some of Roman's goons and you enter into gunfight after gunfight after gunfight. You move from one area with chest-high cover to the next, and it just keeps going with very few breaks for more story or interaction with any other characters. It wouldn't be so bad, except the combat is one of the most dull iterations of third person with cover that I've ever played. All the weapons feel the same. There are some variations on the same handgun and assault rifle, then there are shotguns and sniper rifles. It's standard stuff, and you could make a strong argument that these combat encounters are here just as some filler gameplay sections to act as a break from some of the story sequences. Unfortunately, as is the case at this point in the game, they go on for too long and simply aren't interesting. The other problem I have with them is that precision aiming with a gamepad never feels good to me. Now, I'm not saying that shooters can never work with a gamepad, and I know that some people have played enough console shooters that it can become second nature to them, but Uncharted 1 has bullet sponge enemies that can survive entire clips being unloaded into them. Headshots are the best and most efficient way to get through the game, but aiming with the analog sticks can feel like Nathan is trying to shoot while drunk. A solution here is to tweak the controller sensitivity settings, but this is trading one problem for another. You can make it so the target reticule can move precisely enough to regularly aim properly, but then that aiming is painfully slow. You can either be a drunk turret snapping from target to target, or you can be a tank that should emit those loud beeping noises whenever you start to turn. I should say that the shooting gets better with every game, and The Last of Us has its own changes that I argue work in harmony with these limitations, but it's not something I think could ever be considered good or fun. We'll discuss the shooting a little more in later games. You continue through the jungle and get close to finding Elena. You arrive at this ruined fort and go through one of the first grandiose climbing sections in the series. The camera even zooms out to give you this great look at what you'll be climbing. There's no real danger here. You follow the only true path that's available to you, and that's it. There's nothing else to do. Just follow the handholds and just keep going. Nathan does all the work for you, and you nudge him in the right direction. There's another section like this before you get into the fort properly, which ends with yet another long, relentless series of gun battles. Like the jungle before it, the game really squeezes all the playtime it can out of this area. Two things happen here that are worth talking about. The first being that this is where the idea behind the game's puzzle/treasure hunt begins to deteriorate. This fort is crumbling apart. You find a locked door with a symbol on it which links back to your book guide. This leads you to a key that was stashed in a nearby tower that's also falling apart that you need to open the door. This was a deliberately placed trial for whoever is seeking out the treasure, yet this door doesn't lead anywhere. It's simply another part of the fort that Roman's goons had no trouble getting to, but you, acrobatic Nathan Drake, had to follow some elaborate trail in order to find a key to get through. Now, I know this may seem incredibly nitpicky even for me, but I wouldn't bring it up at all if this didn't set the standard for every single puzzle waiting for us further into the game. The other thing that happens here is that Nathan makes contact with his ancestor, an undiscovered message from Francis Drake. This should be a moment of reverence for our hero, and it almost is, but it's immediately interrupted with yet another fucking gunfight. Like the game is so frightened of letting us go more than a few minutes without either climbing on some ledges or shooting something. Elena is also in this fort. She's filming a lot of the area since she's determined to still make a watchable show out of the expedition. You're almost reunited with her, but end up captured instead. The story finally resumes, and this part is pretty good. Eddie Raja is your captor, and apparently he and Nathan have some history. They taunt each other while Elena is outside playing the hero to Nathan's damsel in distress. Eddie Raja is a less intimidating villain than Roman, but he's definitely more entertaining and interesting.
I never tuned into that yet. Yes. I've been watching
Fascinating document, huh?
When Elena uses a car to rip off the wall of your prison, he chases after you.
Man, I've been with Sprint phone service for fucking like 10 years now. Still pay way too much for my bill and all that shit, but goddamn. Sprint gave me Hulu for free with my phone bill now, which I don't feel like it's for free because my phone bill is so fucking high. Like shit, nigga, y'all need to give me a goddamn Tidal and Apple Music and Netflix on top of the Hulu for free, bitch. Anyway, since I got that Hulu, I ain't been watching nothing but anime. Started watching Attack on Titan. My God, this is a long ass fucking show. I like that shit though, man. That's mostly what I like. Watch 1 or 2 episodes of that shit before I go to bed. Like season 1 had like 20 something episodes in that shit. I'm like, God, that is a long ass anime. I'm like on season 2, something like episode 5 or 6, something like that. You got the Beast Titan, you got the Armored Titan and the Colossal Titan. They done kidnapped Aaron. And Aaron and the other female Titan, I forgot her name. And that's where I'm at now. They kidnapped the 2 of them, and all of them in the fucking woods taking a break, trying to get to wherever the fuck they going, and divulging some of their evil plans or whatever. Attack on Titan. I tried to watch that shit like a couple years ago. It's pretty old. It's not new at all. I don't think it's like at least. I heard about it at least 2 years ago, 1 or 2 years ago. My cousin was like, "Yo, you gotta watch this anime, Attack on Titan." And I tried to watch it, but find it for free and stream it for free. And everything I found was goddamn subtitled. For some reason, I don't mind watching movies in subtitle, but anime, I need that shit dubbed over, yo. I want to really pay attention to the animation and just hear the story. I can't do that shit if I got to read that bitch, bro. I'm gonna have to watch the damn movie twice or whatever. Have to read the shit the first time and then watch it the second time so I don't miss none of the fucking animation. What do you say? It's too quiet. You getting tired of hearing my chair squeak? Oh, my bad. I know my squeaky chair bothered you so much. Shit sound like a goddamn door. It sound like a chair. Sword of the Stranger. That shit sounds crazy. Princess Mononoke. Alright. We almost did 2 hours already. Well, an hour and a half. About to go grab something to eat. So next time I come back, we can work on the lips and the chin right here, the ear and the neck, and that'll be most of the face for the most part. We might come back and do a little bit more highlights on the forehead, and then we'll move on into the hands. Or I might finish the face and then do the yellow and then do the hands and then do the background. But I added some, as you can see, like you can't really see the rest of the forearm here, so I just kind of added that. And I extended this arm out a little bit. So we'll keep working on this piece. Hopefully I can get a lot done on it this weekend. And we'll see where we're at there. I'm looking forward to having a photographs or some photographs sent to me from a photographer. She's gonna do. This is a really unique project I got coming up next, because the client actually had their own vision for what they want, but they don't have an actual image for it. So he just gave me the concept. Me, not being a professional photographer or knowing enough models, realized that I wouldn't be able to pull off this image, so I hired a photographer to take the pictures for me. And she said maybe one day next week she'll have the images ready to send to me. It's pretty good because the client says he's not in a real rush, so I try to keep him up to date on the process though. So it's always good having commissions, subsidizing my income, because I don't make a lot of money. So I gotta sell paintings. Oh. Yo. Oh man, that thing looking good, boy. Alright guys, I think that's it. The laptop is off, speaker is off, put my phone back on the normal settings. And we're good to go. I'm definitely probably going to stream some video games this evening. I'll catch y'all downstairs in the living room. Peace.